What's good, y'all? We are back with another hero guide, and this time we're going to talk about Laurel. If anyone would say Dolores is the strongest, then they would also have to accept the fact that Laurel is the second strongest epic in the entire game. No discussion. Even Oleg ain't as useful. So, let's get into what we're going to do today. Today we're going to talk about a Laurel mid-game and a Laurel end-game build, and honestly, those builds are going to be way simpler than you would expect them to be. And we're going to do the usual, going over skills, awakenings, and obviously what skills to max. And then we're going to finish with a lot, and this time actually a lot of examples of where to and how to properly utilize Laurel for different pieces of content. So yeah, stay tuned for that, and let's get straight into her skills. Alright, so she has a basic attack that can't be leveled, so saves you resources, which is pretty nice. Then we have Symbiotic Power, grants damage increase for 8 seconds to allies every time they use their ultimate. However, this effect won't trigger during her own ultimate. In this skill, you pretty much want it at level 5 for that extra 10% damage increase, going from pretty much a 10% damage increase all the way up to 20. And then we have the ultimate. When the skill is activated, restores 4% of max rage for 2 random allies within range every 2 seconds for 12 seconds. So pretty much restoring 24% rage to allies. But that isn't even her most important part. The biggest and most important thing about Laurel is her talent. Increases rage region attack by 1. But it's not this part, it's this one. Additionally, upon death, provides surrounding allies with a restoration of 50% of their rage cap. So pretty much half the ultimate bar for anyone. And the interesting and best part about her is death equals respawn, or pretty much despawn. Death in this case equals despawn. So you can place down Laurel, despawn her, and give everyone around her in an 8-tile radius 50% of their rage cap. And that is what makes her so big. And that's also, if you take a look at my Laurel, she's 5-star. Why is she 5 stars? Because your Laurel only needs to be level 40, 5 promoted, and that is all she needs. Because at the 5th promotion, she unlocks this restoring 50% of the rage cap. And now that we've talked about this, let's get into her awakenings real quick. The A1 doing the effect of Nature's Aspiration reduces damage taken 20% is nice, but honestly not needed. 1200 HP again helps her with staying alive, but honestly we don't really need it. Cost -1. This is actually quite nice because if she's 1 cost cheaper, you can place your next unit down faster. So that's actually quite a nice one. The 5% attack on the A4 doesn't matter, and the A5 during effect of Nature's Aspiration restores rage for 1 more target is pretty niche. Honestly, if you want to go for an awakening, go for the A3, and that's pretty much about as far as you need to go. And skill-wise, max out this passive, and then you're pretty much done for quite a long while until you are at the specific case. So, A3, max out Symbiotic Power passive, and then let's already get into the build. This is a mid-game Laurel. And now you might be wondering, what? How the fuck is this supposed to be a mid-game Laurel? She isn't even wearing gear. And yeah, that is the beautiful part. She doesn't need any gear. Like, any. Even artifact, she doesn't need any. Her only purpose is being put in and taken out. And that is your mid-game Laurel. This already brings us to endgame Laurel, and endgame Laurel is also very, very simple. What we need is a life force set. You might ask why life force set? Because you want to give her some survivability, you want her to stay on the field longer in the case that you want to use her for her ultimate, and furthermore, in clan boss. Laurel is very predominant in clan boss, and it is at certain points important that the friend Laurel you're borrowing, it's pretty much because you're going to put her as a friend or you're going to use her on her own, that she's at least able to survive for a while, because you might need to change the timings when you despawn her, so you just want to give her some survivability, which is why we have here just some life force set with HP bonus. Obviously, if you can get defense bonus on it, that's perfect. As you can see over here, defense bonus, HP bonus, substats. And now for the right set. The right side set is invigoration set. Legit, just an invigoration set, and honestly, the pieces don't even need to be leveled. Yes, you've heard that right. You could be running +0 invigoration pieces if you want to save some gold. Go ahead and do that. Substat wise, if you happen to have 8 HP percent, obviously use that one to give us some more added survivability. But honestly, at the end of the day, it all doesn't really matter. If you want to search for something specific, give a rage region percent in the bottom stat, and you should be pretty much good. Artifact wise, if you do want to keep her on the field, hit her up with that Nightmare Samsara so she's able to restore some rage for her. But honestly, like I said, this is pretty much a minor case. And this already concludes endgame Laurel. Isn't it that great? It is that simple. On to the first example using Laurel in GR1 in the Mage Rage battery. So let's get straight into 119 for this example. Let's hope we have Power of Dominance out, just in case. And we are going to just start out as usual. But there's obviously a couple of variations to it, but the most standard one is placing 2 mages, one over here, and your Dolores on the top. And then introducing your Laurel into the mix. And what you then want to do is you're going to use your ultimates. And now the first trick. If the ultimates are orange, right? If the bar below your characters turns orange, takes longer, goes faster for certain characters, that is when you can remove Laurel because she can overcap rage. So what we're going to do here is we're going to actually remove Laurel and then already fresh up their rage to 50% on the start. So they're going to start not at 0, but already at 50%. And here's the important part for this battery. If you have Layer or Hollow, what you want to do is place them down first. If you have enough rage region, use their ultimates first and then remove Laurel to cycle faster through ultimates. But yeah, we're just going to simply remove her. And Volker's A1 is obviously a key part in reducing her respawn timer. So yeah, as you can see, we have the second wave of enemies, and we are already ready with all our ultimates again. And one of the most important things for this battery is if the unlock access to the Soulbound Arcana set. Because as you all know, the Soulbound Arcana set gets stronger with ultimate usage. And in this case, we are kind of abusing Laurel, right? We are abusing Laurel to allow our mages to actually ult for every single wave. And through the use of that, obviously stack the Soulbound Arcana set and make our people stronger and stronger and stronger. So yeah, as you can see, it is quite simple. And there's 2 ways to decide when to use Laurel. Way number 1, your units are below or close to 50% rage, then you can just easily remove them and then fill up everyone's rage. Or your units are already at like 85-90%, then in most cases it is actually smarter to wait until they've triggered their ultimates and then fill up the rage back to 50% again. So, because let's say you activate it at 80%, you remove her with your units at 80%, then she only restores 20% rage. And if you wait a couple of seconds, she would instead restore the full 50%. So it's all about like keeping the efficiency of the rage restore as high as possible, I guess. So yeah, let's try to not fuck this one up. So yeah, as you can see, we are cycling rage to our heart's content. Mary died there, but that's just because our Midan isn't geared. And this would be a perfect example. So as you can see, our Karma was on 90%, so we're just going to wait instead, and then regenerate the full 50% instead of only, for example, 20%. So yeah, I don't think I need to actually let this go run through. As soon as you've killed all enemies, the boss is obviously not going to heal anymore and also not going to do any damage against your wall. So at this point, you should be pretty much done with the fight. So yeah, GR1 done. Alright, so here we're going to do a bit of something weird, which is going to be reacting to myself, or pretty much re-referring to stuff I've done earlier. And in this case, it is going to be the use case of Laurel from Grade stage 10 all the way up to 18. And what you need for that one is pretty much obviously your healer, so in that case Vortex and Medan. Medan being the one that actually benefits from Laurel in this case, and then obviously your Laurel. So we're pretty much just going to go a bit forward. And the goal here is pretty much, as we're going to see, using Midan's ultimate to tank this Earthshake, obviously mitigating damage and yada yada. And then actually bring in Laurel to already refresh Midan's rage all the way up back to 50. Because especially early on, without gear on your Midan, it is quite difficult for her to be able to go during every single ultimate. So as you can see right over here, our Midan is not even close to ready. And we're going to bring in Laurel. And then already straight up remove her, which puts Midan back at 100% rage. So she can actually defend against that Earthshake. We're again going to defend it against the wave and do the exact same thing. Midan being at 50% rage, we're going to bring in Laurel, we're going to take Laurel out, and then Midan is again ready. Obviously, if you want to have a look at like the full version for be it stage 10 to 12, 13 to 15, 16 to 18, feel free to check that out on the channel. But yeah, that is pretty much the basic way of actually going through those stages. Alright, now on to Laurel's next use case, which is going to be Grade 219. And here, the two premier candidates actually used to clear all the way up to 21 are actually Hardsit and Vjörna. And the problem with Hardsit and Vjörna is they can actually restore rage by themselves. They're going to reach their ultimate on their own. And then if you put a Spirit Horn on your Dolores, you can just use them to clear out all the waves. And the problem is, for example, Karmet can't actually do that, which is why we're going to bring in Laurel to allow him to also ult at the timings that the other, so Hudson and Vjörna are actually able to ult, and then allow us to use Karmet to actually clear 219. Important here is going to be Dellen to make up for that bit of cost that we're actually losing for using Laurel, because at the end of the day she still costs cost, and cost is the most important factor for Gear 2. And then we have our double tanks over here being Isolde and Oleg, Baron for the invulnerability, and obviously Volker for the reduced despawn timer, and Decimus because he's the Gear 2 gold with Vortex for the heals. So let's get straight into it. So yeah, we're going to start off with Karmet and then already support him with Laurel to get his ultimate ready. And then as soon as we can, bring in our cost generator, activate Karmet's ultimate to take out the enemies. And then remove Karmet as soon as they are taken care of. Cost generators could be Dellen, Cyrene, or Na'Vi. In this case, Na'Vi even being slightly better because she's able to recover slightly more cost compared to the other ones, especially with the ultimate. And you want to try to keep him on the field as long as possible, especially for Na'Vi's kit. Now it's all going to be about timing, and we need to take a look at the golem boss. He's going to slam the ground 3 times, and now on the big third slam, once that one has happened, that is when we can bring in our Decimus, and that has to do with Decimus invulnerability and Decimus staying after death, running out too early if we don't wait for this timing. Now that he's got hit twice, we need to look at the second golem over here, and he needs this charging animation. As soon as he has that one, that gives us the go signal for us to allow us to bring all our other units in. And we can already remove Laurel. We're not going to place a second tank this time because Karmet is able to actually take care of them before they reach the goal, and it also saves us cost, and cost is our lifeblood. And now we can already remove our units. Whoops. Alright. Now after the Shriek, we're going to wait for the Shriek because it would obviously one-shot our units. We can bring on our invulnerability units. Baron could in this case also be a Brock here or Regulus, but Baron is just more accessible. We're going to wait for the smashes, go down from 2 times here, and as soon as the collision happens, that is when you can remove both of them. Wait for them to charge again, and then bring in your sacrificial lambs. Here we gotta wait for Vortex to be ready, because if we place Laurel too early or before Vortex, even though she's ready, she's just going to die. So we're going to need to place Vortex. And now it's all about waiting. So we have Karmat ready, we have Dolores ready, we can take out Laurel, we can activate Karmat, activate Dolores, and Karmat's gonna take care of busyness. Then we can again remove everyone. And this time it is a bit of a different timing. So your Baron needs to be placed after the second smash. Then we gotta wait for the third smash again, which allows us to place in Decimus. We're going to wait for the 2 collisions. Collision number 1 and number 2. And for the smash already happened, so we can put in our people. If you place in your defender units there too fast, as you can see, we've placed Walker down too fast before the charging animation, which is why the golem runs through. But for this purpose, we're actually just going to keep it like this. If you wanna win this one, just slightly delay it. We're going to bring in Decimus to delay. Vortex because someone needs to stay on the field while the golem is doing his smashes. If there isn't anyone on the field, he's not going to do them. He's going to do 16, so this should be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and he should stop smashing. Okay, I miscounted. That is 16. And then you can bring in your combo, already refresh the rage on these, and then fuck up that golem. So yeah, that is a 219 Laurel. On to the next use case, a GR1 19 Laurel Gr2 Dolores shenanigans, and we are going to use Lucas over here. Lucas is a very underestimated 3-star, but we're mainly going to use him for his ultimate, which is pretty much instant use. And so pretty much you can place him down, he's going to instantly use his ultimate, and that ultimate is going to slow the enemy movement speed by 50%. And let's get straight into the stage. Here we're going to open up the stage using Idril, Dolores. Calypso is just going to be play a side role. You could be using pretty much anyone, be it Sachem, Calypso, whoever you desire. We're going to use our ultimates over here, refresh the duration, or pretty much give the rage boost. Here we're going to wait for the boss to actually hit one of our enemies, whoever that may be, one of our units, in this case Calypso. Then we can bring down our unit that takes care of the left side. Wait for the spawning to happen. Get over here. Our unit is going to get hit once, and that's already time for us to then wait to use Dolores again. We wait to use Idril again. Bring in Laurel, refresh that rage, bring in Maul to help us take care of the right side, should that actually be a problem. Then bring in Oleg to start tanking the boss. And especially if you use Oleg like this, you don't actually need a healer for your team, which obviously kind of frees up a slot and also buys time for your units to deal with the boss. I'm not going to activate any ultimates here or do any big shenanigans because we're going to actually use Maul to take care of the right side. We're going to activate the ultimate here, use the slow ultimate to slow them down a bit, and then try to one-shot them with Maul. We've successfully one-shotted the right side with Maul. At that point, you can either keep him in or take him out, depending on what you want to do. It pretty much is very gear dependent. We can bring in our Laurel again and keep that battery going. And at this point, you could bring in Maul again if you wanted to. And here, what is quite useful is bringing in the Goblin to actually slow down the enemies. So yeah, that is 319 using a Laurel and Maul. Obviously, if anyone's curious about the stats needed to actually one-shot the right side with Maul, there are going to be for your Dolores to look somewhat similar to this. Obviously, she doesn't need to be quite as strong, you just gotta make your Maul stronger. And my Maul was actually running a broken set, so instead of a broken set, if you give him a full set, he should be way more than capable of. Alright, now on to use case number 4 for our Joker Laurel, and that is going to be GuildBoss. Over here you can see my GuildBoss team that I'm using, which is going to look somewhat like this. And now let me tell you something, 99% of players actually in the top 100 of GuildBoss scores, be it Nightmare 4 or whatever, are actually using friend assists. So they're playing 11 units instead of 10, and obviously they don't get an auto for that, but at the end of the day it's not that important. And also using a friend assist is crucial in getting to 50k blood, unless you have like super overpowered units and yada yada. Here you can see my team. My team is pretty standard, pretty OP, whatever, but we're using a friend assist. And this friend assist in this case is going to be Laurel, as for most people that use a friend assist at this level. And as we've talked about earlier, it is a tanky Laurel, which just allows you for more freedom, allows you to keep that Laurel on the field longer and then tweak with timings. Here we're going to swap out Eloin for Laurel and pretty much cycle those to gain ourselves some extra rage. And yeah, we're not going to talk about Nightmare 4 here. We are going to talk about the Nightmare 3 team and utilizing Laurel as your only rage booster. Because, for example, you weren't lucky enough to pull a Hollow, Eloin, Leia, or any of those units. And we're just going to, for this one, use a pretty standard team, I guess. For the sake of it, we're even going to take out Torador, just put in a Wrath. And who else do we want to change? We could also, in this case, take out Deimos and then put in, for example, Silas. Silas is not going to be boosted. He doesn't even have a Viana. You could be at that point using any range DPS, which is going to be quite useful, especially early on. Or pull in more units and use Laurel as an assist. But if you don't want that or don't have any friends that have a Laurel as an assist, doing it this way is, in this case, then pretty much the proper way. And what you're actually going to do here is, obviously, we have Volker over here, which reduces the respawn time of Laurel, and placement-wise, we're actually going to be doing something a bit strange, placing Vortex over there. And at the end of the day, you're just stacking your units around your potential Laurel, even a Zillitu if you have it. Now you might be wondering, okay, but why are we actually placing Zillitu a row down? Doesn't she get 20% more damage if she's placed in front of the boss? That is true, and in most cases you're actually going to play her in the front row unless you're actually using a Laurel for rage boosting, because this Laurel only boosts the 8 tiles around her. So over here, and then all the way down here. So as you can see, she can technically boost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 range tiles, but only a single fighter tile. Yeah. And then if you had some invigoration buffs, you would obviously just place them down, give those invigoration buffs. And then we're going to place down Pyrus down here. And we can either wait, which is what we're going to do. We're going to wait for all our important ults to be ready, or those close to actually being ready. And then we can already remove Laurel. And then you could bring in your Volker as your third unit in the meantime, in the downtime in between. And from there on out, it's pretty simple. The only thing you're going to do is you're going to keep in Volker. Obviously use a Pyrus ultimate if you do want to get that double Zilla to Pyrus ultimate off. You're going to keep Volker in as long as Laurel here isn't ready. And as soon as Laurel is ready, what you're going to do is you're going to take out Volker, place in Laurel, take her out again, activate every ult that then became ready. If you want to, for proper timing, wait a bit with Pyrus. And then bring in Wrath. Wrath is then going to do the same thing for Volker. He's going to stay in until everyone is ready, or pretty much Laurel is ready. Then you're going to swap in Laurel again, and then you're going to place in Volker again. So now you actually made yourself a rage boosting composition pretty much from nothing. So again, for those couple of seconds. And that's pretty much it. It's that simple. It's that simple to implement, that simple to add into your team, and it's definitely going to boost your damage. So yeah, definitely adapt Laurel in GuildBoss, especially as a friend assist unit, because at that point you don't need to use your own Laurel and you can have more slots to place down units that might help you out in the end. So yeah, again here we can just activate all our ultimates. And yeah, that is how you use friend assist Laurel in GuildBoss. Now for this last small section and the fifth section for Laurel, it's pretty much going to be Laurel in Arena. Though her impact in Arena isn't as big as you would imagine it. Her main usage is going to be for the AoE arena, and in this case benefiting Karmit, but also mainly works only in conjunction with the Venoma, so not really a lot of people can do it. And if you wanted to, you could try building something like this, not specifically running Volker, but just running your team using Aegil, refreshing Aegil's Rage, and applying the same strategy as for GR3. So yeah. Alright, conclusion for Laurel. There's a million ways to use her, and at the end of the day, you just gotta try to play around with her, try to put her into your teams, and obviously she can't be used everywhere, but she is a really nice tool in allowing you to even punch above your weight, to clear content, to do damage you weren't actually supposed to do by using normal means. And implementing Laurel can actually help you break through certain barriers and clear certain stages that you normally wouldn't have without relying on her. So yeah, try to get familiar with her kit, try to get familiar with her usage, and try to start using her.